Hello and welcome back to Untold Chapters with Austin Macauley Publishers. In this episode, we are joined with Tara Kitcherson, the author of the heartwarming book, Then I Heard Your Name. Tara's book is a lovely story for adoptive parents to read to their children to help them understand their story. Welcome back to Untold Chapters. We are here today with Tara Kitcherson, the author of Then I Heard Your Name. Tara, thank you for joining me today. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hiya, yeah. So obviously my name's Tara and I'm a mum of four. I am a teacher in a setting, a complex needs setting. I love to sing and I'm very, very busy.
Yeah, I can imagine with four kids you can get a bit all over the place.
Yeah, just a little bit running up and down stairs, as you can probably hear. I'm usually out of breath.
Okay. What inspired you to write the story about adoption? Was it based on any personal experience or experience of others?
Okay, so we had a very bumpy road fertility wise. So to cut that part of our story very short, obviously a really painful time, but we decided to adopt. And when you are adopting, you're encouraged to share with
Mm,
your new child about their adoption really early on. So it's kind of like through bedtime stories. So they kind of get used to the language from a very young age.
hmm.
And at that time, the only one that we found, the stories that we found to share with our daughter were very much very kind of you are a gift from heaven, which is absolutely fine for many people. And the only issue we had with that was that in the future, in our when it comes to talking about our daughter's full history with her when she's older, that didn't sit well with me because she's going to know that actually that wasn't the case, and that the simple truth is that in this country, particularly when children are put up for adoption, it's usually because they've been taken from a very difficult place.
Mm.
So it didn't seem right to kind of start off with essentially half truths. If you understand
Right,
what I
yeah.
mean? So it was really important to kind of, yeah, not talk about you're a gift from heaven because she did come from what could have been a very dark place, and that is why she ended up in our lives.
Mm. Okay. Is that why you wrote the book kind of from a parent's perspective in terms of read, because it is written for clearly for a parent to read to their children. Is that why you wrote it in that way rather than just having it as kind of a detached story almost?
Yeah, so, well, the idea was I'd like it to be a book that kind of stays on the bookshelf in the sense
Mm,
that from very early on in the child's life, it's very much part of their bedtime routine. Like I said, they hear the language, but they also what's really important as well is that time that it takes to read that story. So, that routine that creates, because that's all part of it, that snuggling up together, at bedtime, that time, that one-to-one time or two-to-one time, or however your family dynamic is, but that time together to share that story. So that's the first part of sharing the book. But then in the future, they get to kind of the child themselves will get to understand more, and they can see things from their parents' perspective in that what they went through to become their parents. So it is just to be able to share that special moment and hearing a tale about love, about family, and about belonging, which is important right from when they're very small, right to where they understand more, into adulthood even.
mm. Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely lovely. There's also a part in your book that you have created and you can personalize it. Was that a really important element to have in the book for you?
That is, it's absolutely, it's, it is really, really important because, you know, when we're reading the story and sharing that story with the child, it's so important to be able to make that story their story, and by
Mm,
putting their name into it, it instantly becomes theirs. They have ownership of it, and it takes on a completely different meaning.
mm,
And yeah, to have that ownership is just a really special thing. And obviously people can choose to write their child's name in it as well, rather than just the words. So they can, as they get older, they can then read, they can see that, recognize their name and then read their name.
mm,
But also when, again, like I said, because this is a book that I'd like people to keep and revisit, and when that child is older and they do understand more, there's a really important element of that that I don't want to forget, and that is that their name is sometimes the only thing that their birth family has given them.
mm,
And to give that moment in the book, to give that name, that moment is just really important because yeah, that, like I said, that name, their name is just such an important thing, especially if their birth family has given it to them, because sometimes they don't have, that is the only link they have to their birth family.
mm. Yeah, no, I think it's such a beautiful element of the book, and it does make it so special for those families that are going to be reading it. Um,
Yeah.
what was the most rewarding part of creating this book, and what are you hoping? Obviously, you said that you want people to be able to keep this on bookshelves and for the kids to understand it. But what is the kind of legacy that you want it to leave?
I suppose just yeah, because it's meant to be revisited, and I guess fundamentally it was I wrote it with my daughter in mind.
Mm,
Just, just it's her story as well as ours. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a very it's a very special, it's a very precious story to me. But I'm also really, really aware that when you're going through that, whether you choose, well, to be honest, the fertility journey is a very, very difficult, challenging, lonely place often. And you can forget that you're not alone because because you're so in this bubble. And that can be so difficult when you feel like you're walking that path alone. And also the adoption process as well is incredibly challenging. It's meant to be, it's designed to be, it
Mm,
needs to be. um but the challenges that throws up within you as a person, you can think, gosh, is that something to do with me? Is that a weakness in me that I was challenged so much going through this process? And then to read the words written, obviously from my point of view, that can resonate, hopefully, with people to go, gosh, so it's not just me that found this difficult. It isn't something, it's meant to be difficult. It's something that everybody will find challenging.
mm,
And so, yeah, there's I suppose a sense of togetherness, and to feel like somebody else has walked the same path as you. All right, it will be a different experience, of course it will.
mm,
But to have walked the same path as someone is just comforting.
mm. Yeah, this book is not just kind of for the kids to learn about their path, it's also for the parents to feel less alone,
Yeah,
and feel like clearly someone else has gone through this, considering there's obviously a book being written about it. I think that's
yeah,
a really lovely, lovely way to talk about it. The book also touches on kind of letting go of the plan in terms of kind of fertility and stuff like that and finding happiness in a
yeah.
new way. How important do you think that message is to future parents?
It's just so important because I just think that we're really conditioned to believe in this plan, inverted commas, like
Mm,
that, we'll meet someone, we'll fall pregnant, and we'll fall pregnant whenever we want, as often as we like, and we'll
mm,
live happily ever after. And a lot of us, kind of believe that from really early on. I mean, we'll be at preschool or nursery and we'll be, cradling babies. It's just, I don't know, it's just something that we're conditioned to believe.
mm,
And it's just so hard to then not be able to fulfill that in the way you expect it to happen
Mm,
when it feels like everyone around you is managing to do that.
right.
And it feels really you feel powerless,
Mm,
because it's something that we should all be able to do, you know?
mm,
And to be able to just step back from that,
mm,
to retake some control, because that is essentially what it is. We feel out of control.
mm,
And to be able to look at things and actually focus on what's important. And we're so hung up on that being pregnant, because of what we've been led to believe. But actually, it's not about that. It's about the end game. It's about being a parent.
mm,
That's it. That is to be able to share your love and your life with one
mm.
to nurture. That is everything. That is the journey, and that's the destination, really. So yeah, that
Mm,
is that is a plan to let go of for your own, for yourself,
mm,
because it can if you don't find another way to look at these things, you can go through your life and suddenly you've missed so many opportunities. And if I'd have hung up and been completely obsessed, if I'd have let it own me so much, being, in this zone of trying to fall pregnant, trying to fall failing, and I could have missed the opportunity to have adopted.
mm,
And as my book says, after I adopted, I did go on to have birth children of my own. Now, that's
mm,
not the point. That doesn't happen for everybody, But the point is, you could miss that opportunity to be a parent, to love someone, to have them love you, because you're so hung up on what you think the plan should be.
mm. Yeah, no, I think that's a really important message. I think often, parents or people who are struggling with stuff like that, they have so much love to give and they obviously do want to do the quote traditional way of doing
Mhm.
things,
Yeah.
but they have that love and yeah, I think they can kind of get caught up and just not be able to have that. I think your book is really powerful, has a really, really powerful message of kind of the beauty of building a family in any way that works for
Yeah.
you and works for your family. It's a really powerful message that's really beautiful and I think will touch a lot of people. My last question for you is what three words would you use to describe your book and why would you use them?
I would say, well, it's kind of a bit of a cheat, the first one, because it's a journey.
Hmm.
The second one would be hopeful,
Hmm.
and the third one would be empowering. I just think that the reason why is, that, as I've said, becoming a parent is all about a journey, regardless of how it happens. It is a journey. Um, to have hope is so important, because that is the thing that you lack if you are trying and essentially failing to become a parent. To be able to have hope, I often think that if someone tapped you on the shoulder and said, look, you're going to go through however many years of really difficult times, but don't worry, at the end of it, you will become a parent. I think you would just go through everything in a
Mm,
heartbeat. You would just do it because you had that hope. And essentially, adoption for us was absolutely that hope. And it's empowering, again, like I said, to be able to take some control back of your life
mm.
is just the greatest thing you can do, because it really feels like everything.
Amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us today and explaining your strengths and writing the book in the first place. It is such a beautiful story. Is there anything that I have not touched on that you would like to talk about in this episode?
Um, I guess I guess just that it's it's so important that if you are feeling uh, just really down on yourself, or negative or struggling, that there is always someone going through something really similar, and you only have to open your eyes and look or ask a question, and suddenly you'll realize you're just not alone.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I guess, yeah, I'd like people to know that.
amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Untold Chapters. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, please follow and give us a 5-star review. There will be a link to Tara Kitcherson's book, Then I Heard Your Name, in the description below.